really for me, the prize is about bringing people together.
Nurturing your young minds and helping to shape your futures.
So to be able to bring them all together and celebrate that is fantastic.
Wherever I am and whatever office block I'm sitting in.
You just got to keep going the way you're going.
I want to show that it is possible.
If you're lucky, you're lucky.
With Charles at the helm of the royal family now, he really needs to modernise. So that will be slimming down the number of working royals, but also making sure that the younger members of the family, who are the future, are given the prominence that they deserve.
This slims down monarchy is designed to represent modern, progressive, inexpensive version of monarchy, because that's how Charles thinks the public will respond to it. There is this small band of them at the heart of the firm who are going to be the significant figures. But it's also meant that William is very much presented as the one that people have to watch.
We support with pride and respect your decisions about your future.
They are hard-working royals, but most of all, they're popular. People love to see them, and people love to see the family all together. So they can be very effective in keeping up the profile of the monarchy and keeping the royal family popular.
What's really nice is I noticed when I was working for him at Highgrove, he was very much training his son, Prince William. He was teaching him all the things that he had learned. So he's passed it on to Prince William, who is now the Prince of Wales.
These days, the monarchy, our monarchy, is a charitable monarchy. Its primary function is to shine a light on charities. The royal family supports thousands of charities. They are a very normal family.
The royal family exists because of the people and for the people, so you have to be able to appeal to the people that you exist to serve.
Being a member of the royal family has never been easy. To be a representative of the crown means upholding country and duty above all else. Princesses Beatrice and Eugenie have endured a huge deal of media coverage and heartbreaking revelations throughout their lives.
The two of them have said that whenever something negative is written about them, they try and turn it into a positive. And I think that's a really great mindset for both those girls to have and for anyone to have.
From seeing their parents' publicised divorce to being isolated in the press, the two princesses now lead lives devoted to charity and family.
Both girls were very young when their parents divorced, but their parents were determined that they would be brought up by both parents, that they would remain very much within this very supportive, loving couple. I think one of the things that the two girls inherited from their mother is a strong sense of trying to do good for others, to get involved with charities, that they can make a difference.
With their experience of life outside of the monarchy, Beatrice and Eugenie are loved by the public for being relatable and grounded. After spending many years upholding the monarchy, Beatrice and Eugenie have continued to serve the crown through their work, public and private. Their sense of duty comes from their grandmother, the late Queen Elizabeth II, who cherished the two princesses. But as the two princesses grew older, they had their titles constantly in doubt of being stripped away from them. Born on the 8th of August 1988 to Prince Andrew, Duke of York, and Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, Beatrice's name has great significance and quite an interesting history.
It took a full 11 days before we found out what her name was. And later on we found out that's because the name that the Duke and Duchess of York originally picked for Beatrice was Annabelle, and the Queen said she didn't like it. She thought it was too yuppie and too many people were using it at that time, so she vetoed it and said, kindly pick another name. So they did, and they went with Beatrice. So 11 days after she was born, we finally managed to find out that her name was Princess Beatrice.
Fergie has always had this very strong interest in Queen Victoria. In fact, has made several programmes about her, was the producer of a film about her, in which Beatrice, I think, had a small part. And the names Beatrice comes from one of Victoria's children. So she feels she's very much the incarnation of Victoria.
I look at her with strength and courage, and I think that she was incredibly brave to take on what she took on at 18 years old. And I related to that because I would like sometimes now to go back to the bride I once was and do things differently, but I can't.
Beatrice's sister was born on the 23rd of March 1990. Her name also honours a past member of the monarchy.
The Duchess, who had a caesarean operation just a week ago, looked remarkably well as she emerged from the Portland hospital, ready to give the world a first glimpse of a new royal baby. Princess Eugenie was fast asleep, blissfully unaware of her celebrity status. The first wispy evidence suggests she'll have her mother's red hair. The Duke was given responsibility for the baby, while the Duchess went to talk to some of the crowd. She made a special effort to chat to an 82-year-old lady who had waited outside the hospital for 2 weeks.
It's nice to see them. I love the babies.
Why do you follow them? Why do you like them so much?
I love the royal family. Nobody can say no wrong about them.
While the Duke was left holding the baby, the palace announced she would be called Eugenie Victoria Helena. So where does the name come from? Eugenie was one of Queen Victoria's granddaughters, whose name was taken from the wife of Napoleon III. Victoria really needs no explanation. Helena, her third name, comes from Victoria's third daughter. The man who takes a special interest in recording royal names likes it.
I find it quite a pretty name. Pleasing to the sound and pleasing to look at as well. And a dignified name for a princess.
The Duchess, well known for her sense of humour, has chosen a name so unlikely the bookies didn't even offer odds on it.
Luckily, the name that they picked this time passed with flying colours by the Queen, and so we found out her name quite a bit sooner.
When Beatrice and Eugenie were born, Prince Andrew's demanding naval job kept him from spending time with his family, leading to animosity between the young couple.
And he's not a man with a great inner life. He likes playing golf, he likes to watch videos, and frankly not much else. And this was one of the problems with the marriage with Sarah, which very quickly broke up.
She works for a Swiss printing firm on the publishing side. She's got one book out already, an illustrated account of the early exhibitions of the Impressionist painters.
It's my book, you know. I want I want the world to know this, you see. You see, because I'm definitely trying to relate that I'm a working woman. So, spelt wrong, Ferguson, BTK, Graphic Arts.
She was lonely, she was struggling to cope with royal duties, she was heavily criticised for perhaps being a little too boisterous, for being overweight, for her dress sense. And when he came home, when she wanted to do things with him, he wanted to slump in front of the TV and watch videos or do his own thing. And so there were tensions in the marriage. I think also, very quickly, they both began to have affairs, particularly Sarah. And these stories broke because pictures were found made public of her on holiday with Steve Wyatt with her children, much to the disgust of Andrew. Here was Andrew serving abroad, and his wife was consorting with these American businessmen who were not necessarily the sort of people that she should be involved with, but particularly not having affairs with. So the Queen, I think, when these stories became public, encouraged them to separate, and they divorced a few years after that.
In 1992, they decided to officially separate. Shortly after their separation, a fresh scandal hit the royal family again. This time, Sarah was spotted with John Bryan, a Texan millionaire who was captured intimately kissing her feet. This news damaged her reputation, to the point where the late Queen Elizabeth II banned her from royal activities. The divorce was finalised in 1996.
The Duchess of York, ready for the slopes, emerged from her chalet here at mid-morning to talk for the first time about the divorce.
Very well, thank you. And the children are very well indeed. Ready to go skiing.
Sad day for you?
Well, I would say that would be understatement. Yeah, very sad, of course it's sad. Anyway, you're all going to leave us alone then today, now? Please?
How long will you stay for? Your children go back to school tomorrow. How long will you stay?
We'll probably be staying till the weekend. We are going to stay because I think it's better for the children to go back to school on Monday, and we've spoken to the headmistress and she's very fine with that, and I've told her the situation, and it's, especially with all the press and everything, it's better for the children just to be calm and go back calmly on Monday. Okay. Or they might... Our children are very secure and very happy children because they know that their mother and father are bestest of friends.
Fergie and the Queen had a very good relationship in spite of the fact that Prince Philip couldn't stand Fergie. I think the Queen was very keen that her grandchildren shouldn't suffer because of the divorce, and she would be in touch with Fergie a lot. I mean, I've talked to people who say that the Queen often rang her. Fergie was always very respectful of the Queen, very discreet about her knowledge, her dealings with the Queen. I think there was always this great concern that if Fergie did a kiss and tell book, it might reveal various secrets, not least about Prince Andrew, so it was best to keep her on side. But I think there was a genuine affection. Fergie likes horses and dogs, like the Queen. She was very down to earth. There had been this long association between the families, and so I think the Queen remained, with a soft spot. She has been pretty loyal to the royal family. She hasn't spilled the beans about anything, and she's played a long game. And as a result, she's still very much within the sort of royal circles.
The Duchess of York took Princess Beatrice to school as usual this morning, refusing to let the press interest in her marriage interrupt her daughter's routine. Followed by chasing newsmen, she delivered 3-year-old Beatrice to Upton House School in Windsor. She refused to answer questions from journalists as she left.
They'd moved very much in the same circles. They were drawn by the same rather boisterous sense of humour and teasing of each other, but also by this shared interest in things like skiing and show jumping and things like that.
While Andrew and Sarah continued to be amicable afterwards, scandals continued to emerge.
A lot of this happened when she had divorced Prince Andrew. She had to make her own living, and she was forced to do some pretty desperate things and get involved with some pretty dubious operations. But she continues to go through money at a rapid rate, and to sustain this lifestyle, she has had to do some things I suspect the royal family would prefer her not to have done.
Experience the past like never before with History Hit's award-winning original documentaries and ad-free podcasts with our expert historians like Dan Snow, Susanna Lipscomb, Lucy Worsley, Mary Beard, Tristan Hughes and myself, Matt Lewis. Sign up for an exclusive discount using the link in the description and embark on your historical journey from the wonders of ancient Egypt and the life of Anne Boleyn to the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte and the discovery of Shackleton's endurance. Get history wherever, whenever, exclusively on History Hit.
Today's reports will come as yet another blow to the Duchess, who for years has been trying to shrug off a reputation as being rather too keen on the good life. When her marriage to Prince Andrew broke down 4 years ago, she was said to have had an overdraft of some £200,000, believed to have been paid off as part of a separation settlement.
The coverage of their volatile relationship no doubt had an impact on Beatrice and Eugenie. With their mother banished from royal family gatherings, the two princesses had to endure a very destabilising environment.
Andrew and I speak every day, and it's very important that we do keep that huge friendship, which we've always said we are. And it's great, the children, we all have a great time.
Andrew was living very close to Fergie. They saw a lot of both of them. In fact, for a time, Fergie was living in the same house with Andrew. Slightly difficult time because at that point, Fergie was in a relationship with John Bryan, who was often at the house, and poor old Andrew would be relegated to one corner. But they tried to create this joint happy marriage. In some ways, very privileged childhood. They travelled with their mother. Fergie was known as Freebie Fergie because she was always getting freebie trips, and they would go on those trips. They met a lot of famous people, particularly through their mother. But of course, they've lived under the shadow of the scandals around both parents, which must be very embarrassing.
After a tumultuous childhood, it came to no one's surprise when Beatrice and Eugenie decided to lead independent lives from the royal family and build their career.
Prince Andrew has always been very protective of his daughters. He and Sarah have been good parents, bringing up the children even though they were divorced. But he's always felt that as a prince of the blood, his own children should have positions as working royals. And there was a lot of criticism of the two children. They were getting royal protection, security, at a huge cost, even on their gap years, for example, and there was no threat to them. They were not conducting any sort of royal duties. But he does have this very strong sense of entitlement that his family should be treated differently, without necessarily having the same sense of obligations about what he should be doing in return for this. And when the Queen agreed with Prince Charles about a slimmed-down monarchy, the idea was that it would all move down through Prince William and Prince William's children, and other members of the royal family would not, for example, appear on the balcony and would not be doing royal duties.
Beatrice and Eugenie do have an image problem. I think most people wouldn't recognise them, don't know who they are, but when they see the headlines, they think, well, why are we spending any money on these people? We shouldn't be subsidising their lifestyles when their lifestyles are basically jetting around the world, enjoying themselves.
Eugenie is a director at the London Art Gallery Hauser and Worth, an art venue showcasing both emerging and established artists, plus modern art from around the world. She also carries out royal engagements. Beatrice is a Vice President of Partnerships and Strategy at tech company Affinity. She also worked at investment firm Sandbridge Capital, and before that, had a role as an intermediate coordinating producer at Sony Pictures Entertainment.
The two girls are in some ways very different. Beatrice went on to do history at Goldsmiths and has now gone into venture capital, having had a brief post in the Foreign Office.
Princess Eugenie studied art and English at Newcastle University and has ended up working in the art world. She's worked between New York and London, and now she works at a gallery right here in London in Mayfair. Of course, she just had her second child, so she's probably taking a little bit of time off. But she said that art has always been her passion, not necessarily to be an artist, but she's loved working in the art world.
When they're not working, the royal nieces are dedicating their time to many charitable endeavours. For Beatrice, her relief work has roots in the fact that she struggled with dyslexia when she was young.
I think one of the things that was very formative in Beatrice's life was the discovery that she had dyslexia. But I think she always said it left her very confused. It clearly separated her from other children.
Princess Beatrice has only quite recently opened up about her struggles with dyslexia. She talks about being in school and how kids were on higher colour reading books than she was, and she wondered why she was always stuck on this certain book. And she described it as, you know, being very difficult, feeling left out, wondering why she couldn't get ahead in the same way that her peers could. And now she works at a tech company, and she's also talked about how her dyslexia lends itself very well to working in the tech environment that she does now. And it was great for her to speak openly about it. She now works with charities that work with people with dyslexia, and I think it's really great that she's been shining a light on this. It's really great that she's shown that despite having dyslexia, you can still do whatever it is that you want to do. She's got this great job working at this tech company, and it's great that she's working with charities on that as well.
The two princesses serve as patrons for many charities.
Princess Beatrice is currently the only royal to ever run in a marathon. She did it dressed as a caterpillar. She was wearing a neon green skirt, and she was tethered to, I think, maybe 11 other people as well. And she did it for a children's charity to raise money for them.
Really excited. I'm desperate to get to the start line. I'm desperate to get going.
And she's done a number of these charitable stunts. So she climbed Mount Etna. She's very involved with charities that her mother's involved in, but also with others dealing with dyslexia, with injuries to children, the Teenage Cancer Trust.
What? Oh no, I think that's the best bit. I now am trying to find the way where my work life and my other life can sort of combine, and you know, I can spend time talking about the great work that Forget Me Not Hospice can do wherever I am and wherever whatever office block I'm sitting in. It's getting that balance right. We're working on it.
Princess Beatrice stays in touch with what we're doing as a charity. She receives regular updates and also receives artwork and other things that the children here may consent to her, and I know that she really treasures those, and one of the reasons she's coming today is simply to spend time with children and families and understand their stories and how we're supporting them.
While Beatrice works with the Big Change Charitable Trust and the Berkshire Community Foundation, Eugenie has focused on the Coronet Theatre, Charity Water, and the Tate Young Patrons. The duo also partnered with their mother to work together for the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Another icon here, it's unbelievable. They're just rolling in. Most of his football for Leicester City and for Stoke.
Sarah has continued to have a close relationship with their daughters over the years.
So it's very, very exciting. The Teenage Cancer Trust has done an amazing job at really being the voice for teenagers or young people that are going through not only adolescence in some cases, but then moving on to then be hit with cancer and fighting for their lives. And before the Teenage Cancer Trust was around, there was grandma on the right and toddler on the left with a nappy change all night. So, you know, there wasn't any chance for these young people to have a voice. Mm-hmm. So this is very, very, very important to my heart. And my best friend died of cancer, my father died of cancer, my grandfather died of cancer, my stepfather died of cancer. You know, cancer is very prevalent around me. And I would, if I was young, and well, I am young, but even younger, I would think, at least if I had to go to hospital, it's a place where it doesn't smell of hospital. It's got therapy rooms, you can have music rooms, and you've got a sense of, well, okay, you know, I am in hospital, but I can get better. So that's what it means to me. What do you think, Yush?
Oh gosh, well, again, like Mummy said, it's something that's been a part of everyone's lives. Basically, it touches everyone, and I think it's just so good that teenagers are allowed to live like we should be living as teenagers. And also, you know, it's amazing what they do here, and it's giving people back their lives and everything. So
it's actually interesting because you've been brought up with. She's very cool. It's fine. It's fine. You see, that's cool. That's what teenagers do.
I think one of the things that the two girls inherited from their mother is a strong sense of trying to do good for others, to get involved with charities, that they can make a difference. And I think that's one of the really strong legacies from Sarah, who does have this very strong belief that she wants to make life better for other people. And so they've been very active in charities, and I think this has won them a lot of respect.
My daughters are 18 and 20. There's no chance that you're going to get them to do anything they don't want to do. They're very opinionated and very strong. So they wanted to come with me, they wanted to learn. And I think Beatrice certainly has such a mission in her life to want to change the way that the children are treated in Romania. And I think she's very excited to get her teeth into this project. Eugenie was completely blown away with Turkey, and now really understands every minute of her day how lucky she is.
I see myself as a mini mummy, so I kind of have this sort of image that anything you could do, I want to do better. So I want.
I have to tell you, that's easy.
Sarah Ferguson's greatest achievement, she says, is as a mother, and she talks about the tripod. Basically, this is her and her two girls. And many times, she's not so much a mother, she's sort of best friend to the children. I would say she's probably the errant daughter, and the children have had to sort of keep her in hand. But it's a very, very close bond between them. I think that is the thing that she feels is, her, as I say, her greatest achievement, but also the thing that she has most focused on. And even when she was working in the States, her children were at school during the week, either at boarding school or a day school, being taken in and out by the bodyguard or by a member of staff. Fergie made a point of flying back from the States for the weekend to be with them and then flying back to the States, which is quite a big journey, quite a great commitment. So it says something about her maternal qualities, that she always put her children first.
She has tried to always be a hands-on parent because she remembers what it was like when she was a teenager. She says she remembers the slamming of doors and the not wanting to talk to your parents. And so she's trying to be that person who's there for them as teenagers, there for them growing up, hoping that they can be close. And Beatrice has said that she hopes she has the same relationship with her daughter, Sienna, that she currently has with her mother as well.
Whilst Beatrice and Eugenie cannot be more different, they also share many similarities. Both sisters have grown to be confident and independent. In 2008, just before her 18th birthday, Eugenie had given her first media interview with The Telegraph, where she explained how she and her sister both have very different personalities, but that these differences make them a closer pair. When it comes to fashion, Eugenie opts for something low-key, while Beatrice is a fan of the glitz and the glam. The princesses were critiqued by the press in 2011 during the wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton. Princess Beatrice wore a symmetrical beige hat that was nicknamed as the pretzel hat by the press. Her outfit was mocked by fashion critics.
But she turned it around very cleverly. She laughed at herself, she put the pretzel hat up for sale and earned a lot of money for charity and earned a lot of respect for that. And the press was seen to actually been rather bullying towards her.
She raised £75,000 and donated the amount to United and Children in Crisis. This isn't just one instance of negativity in the press about the sisters.
Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie actually have definitely got a lot of stick in the media, whether that's for their fashion choices, hats, dresses that they wear to wedding. Princess Beatrice has taken a lot of stick for her weight actually as well, for always being on holiday, but they've said that they try and turn the negatives into positives.
They're very good at turning bad press round to good press.
mother Sarah spoke up about the issue, defending her children and how the media has been unable to back off.
She doesn't smoke. You know, she's going to university in September reading history. Give the girl a break. Give the girl a break.
In 2018, Eugenie married Jack Brooksbank at Windsor Castle, with her sister taking on the role of maid of honour.
Now, she was so close to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, they actually pushed back the start of their royal tour so they could be there at that wedding.
Not since the 1300s, when St George's Chapel was built, has it hosted 2 royal weddings in the same year. But 5 months after Harry and Meghan were here, they were back. And so too were the wedding guests.
Eugenie also made a conscious decision with her wedding gown to show off her scar from a surgery she underwent when she was younger.
When Eugenie was 12 years old, she had surgery for scoliosis on her back. That was to straighten her spine. It was something that she'd been dealing with for quite a few years. And this left quite a prominent scar, actually. And when she got married, she made sure that her wedding dress didn't actually cover the scar so that it could be seen, which was a really beautiful thing, actually, because it's a part of who she is. And now she actually does work with a lot of charities. She's an ambassador for charities and a patron for charities that work with people who have scoliosis.
I had scoliosis of the spine when I was 12 years old, and the hospital corrected it for me. So without them, I wouldn't be standing the way I am. So it's thanks to them that I'm here. So I want to give it back to them.
I mean, the wedding dress has so much detail that in many ways, of course, that wonderful, that very dynamic, very dramatic V-shaped neckline and back view is such a key feature of the dress. And we learned from Princess Eugenie that that was very much something she had in mind from the word go, from the outset, when she was thinking about what her wedding dress might look like. And I think the response to that was quite overwhelming and really struck a chord with a lot of people, which was a really beautiful thing to come out of a wonderful day. But the dress also has many other details, the wonderful fabric that was specially woven, this bespoke fabric with entwined symbols which are of meaning to the couple. And the whole design has a lot going on, and there's quite a lot of detail to see, which visitors will be able to do close up.
The children have had their own problems through life. I mean, through the dyslexia and through this sclerosis. That they've had to cope with in the glare of public attention as well. Eugenie's wedding was one of these great spectacles. Again, we've seen more and more of these royal weddings taking place not in central London at Westminster Abbey or St Paul's, as Charles was, but at St George's, Windsor, which is where they tend to worship, where they're based at the weekend, which is very much a family home, which is, of course, much easier for security within the grounds of Windsor Castle. Again, quite an extravagant affair for someone who'd been quite low-key. Jack Brooksbank, very much a middle-class boy, who'd been, again, at a sort of minor public school, Stowe, not particularly distinguished career in drink sponsorship. But, you know, was seen as a decent man. They've kept very much out of the headlines since they got married. But I think after that probably, I think, is going to be one of the last royal weddings we're going to see for a while. The next generation of royals are some 20 years away from getting married.
In 2020, Princess Beatrice married Count Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi. in a secret wedding with her sister as the maid of honour. The ceremony took place during the coronavirus pandemic and the controversy surrounding their father.
It's very interesting to compare the two weddings of Beatrice and Eugenie. Eugenie, who in some ways is the quieter one, had this extravagant wedding at St George's, Windsor, huge security costs, a big procession through the streets, wanted to get married. We were in COVID. I think there was a new attitude towards royal expenditure. We'd already had the very expensive weddings of Harry and Meghan and her sister. The reputation of her father was waning, and I think the last thing the royal family was to put Prince Andrew on display. And so she had a very discreet wedding with only a few guests that very few people knew about in the grounds of Windsor. And I think she earned a lot of respect for that. Again, this was part of a changing mood that the royal family needed to be less conspicuous in their consumption and to live rather more modestly. And this was driven partly by Harry and Meghan having had that expensive wedding and then sort of basically walking away from royal duties, from having Frogmore Cottage renovated at huge public expense and then not living there. And a sense that everything just needed, particularly with Charles now very much in the driving seat, the Queen, even before she died, taking very much a back seat, that things had to change, that there was going to be a cost of living crisis, that people were going to be much more critical of royal expenditure, and they needed to trim their cloth.
Beatrice opted for a dress that was worn by her grandmother, the late Queen, in 1962. Queen Elizabeth also handed Beatrice a tiara that she had worn on her wedding day.
I think it's very revealing the Queen had gave her tiara that she'd worn herself at her wedding. Again, it just displays a sense of continuity, and this sense that the Queen, had a large number of grandchildren and great-grandchildren when she died. A bit like Victoria. I mean, I think the parallels are fascinating. This, Prince Philip, like Prince Albert, was the great innovator who came in from the outside. This long reign, this mother of the nation figure that Victoria became, the Queen became, and also Victoria, who was seen as a rather austere figure, we're now beginning to learn was actually a much more human figure, a much more sort of rich human being. And I think we're beginning to get that sense with the Queen too, a figure, who could be fun to be with, who was a great mimic, and who was devoted to her family.
Despite being in the spotlight, Sarah and Andrew have been present for their daughters through all their highs and lows. Princess Beatrice, in 2005, in an interview to mark her 17th birthday, said that her parents' divorce in 1996 had brought them all closer. The two princesses attend many royal family events, but also relish their normal life.
I think Sarah and Andrew have been good parents. They've been always there for their children. They've been united. They haven't briefed against each other. They talk about being the happiest divorced couple ever. And the two children have gone on to have successful careers, to get married and have children. And apart from some moments early in their careers, they've kept out of the headlines.
The princesses are both royal mums now.
Eugenie is the mum of two boys. Her oldest son, August, was born in 2021, and Ernest, the latest addition to the family, was born on May 30th of this year. Princess Beatrice is a stepmom to her husband's son, Wolfie, but she also has a daughter, Sienna Elizabeth, who is a year old.
Their undeniably close bond is also shared by their children now. who spend a lot of time together as the two princesses are adjusting to motherhood.
The children of Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie don't have royal titles. Now, when it comes to Princess Beatrice, this is because her husband descends from Italian aristocracy, so essentially she would be a countess and her kids would get those titles, so they thought it best just to leave them. And when it comes to Eugenie's husband Jack, he wasn't given a title upon Princess Eugenie's marriage to Jack. He wasn't given a title, so their kids are just styled as Master or Miss, so Master Ernest and Master August. Now, the only grandchildren that do have royal titles are the children of William and Kate, who are Prince and Princess, and of course the children of Prince Harry, who are Prince and Princess as well.
Eugenie has also been busy splitting her time between the UK and Portugal, making for an exciting chapter for their family. Eugenie retains a UK base at Nottingham Cottage, while Beatrice has moved away to the Cotswolds. Their beautiful farmhouse is said to have much more space and privacy than their central London home.
Princess Eugenie herself is quite climate conscious, but she has been involving her son August in that as well. At his tender age, he's very aware of climate change and aware of things of recycling and picking up litter. So she's making a concerted effort to make sure her kids are very conscious of what's happening around them.
Eugenie spends part of her time in Portugal, where Jack's business has taken him. They are still very close. They live a pretty good and privileged life, and they don't need to worry too much about money.
In addition, Andrew and Sarah live in Royal Lodge in Windsor, which is only an hour and 40-minute drive away, meaning that Beatrice will not be too far away from her parents. With the support of their parents, the two sisters have managed to overcome troubling headlines together. They are vital members of the royal family and the future of the monarchy. King Charles III has been vocal about his plans for the monarchy and wants fewer working royals in the future. With their continued service to the Commonwealth, Beatrice and Eugenie are the ideal royals for representing the crown.
In the future, perhaps Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice could take on the role of working royals, but that would mean them being paid from the sovereign grant, and people might have a problem with that because that's more spending for the royal family. If Charles is going for a slimmed down monarchy like he says, we probably won't see Beatrice and Eugenie as working royals.
Their links to numerous charities and experience with the media have made them a fan favourite, and many consider the royal nieces to be the obvious choice to be a part of the King's monarchy.
I think they've learnt in many ways from the mistakes of their parents the way to engage with the press. They're pretty astute at dealing with the press. And I think we've seen, the reputations of various members of the royal family rise and fall. And I think the reputation of Beatrice and Eugenie is on the rise. We've seen Beatrice being made a Councillor of State. She's actually quite a senior member of the royal family, and I think we're going to see them. Charles, I think, feels that they've earned their spurs, that they shouldn't be blamed for the problems of their father, and I think we're going to see a bigger role for them in the future.
Whatever the future holds, one thing is for certain. The solidarity between the sisters will hold strong through thick and thin. Steady and unwavering, just like the royal family.